Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast. For today, we're going over UFC 295, Prochazka versus Pereira. First things first, make sure you smash this like button, give a video a like, give a video a subscribe, or give the channel a subscribe, give a follow over on Twitter, over on Instagram, over on TikTok, wherever there's social media. There is the Stats and Stacks podcast. And I always, again, come on here, let you know if we had a rough night, how we could have done better. We fucking crushed last week. Killed it. Absolutely murdered it. Zero picks wrong in regards to the official bets. Like everyone else, I did miss out on Gabriel Bonfim, so I did blow up one of my parlays. But that was it. Everything else was spot on. Made a ton of money last week, and I'm looking to just get real stupid this week. A lot of dogs that are really, really live here. Generally, I wouldn't take the shot, but with a little extra cash in our pocket, we're ready to get fucking wild this week. So again, we're gonna go through every minute little detail here. 13 fights. It is in New York, so again, there's a lot of fishiness that goes on in some of these commissions. And although I'm from New York, so a lot of weird stuff going on in the state of New York in regards to their judging. So get ready for one wild night, and it's not huge name value wise. It seems kind of top heavy. And it's fun. It's just an overall fun card, a lot of fun fights. There'll be a lot of decisions, which means there's going to be a lot of judges involved, which means there's going to be a lot of sketchiness. But as long as we're on the right side and make the right read, we're going to go ahead and make some more money here. So let's go ahead and start with the very first fight of the night, which I also think is going to be relatively greasy. I think we're going to start with some questionable decisions going on here. First fight, we have Dennis Bazooka at plus 210 going up against Jamal Emmers minus 260. Over under sitting at a smooth 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 240. Under 2.5 at plus 180. Let's go ahead and start with Jamal Emmers. Because Jamal Emmers is good. Jamal Emmers is going to have a 4-inch reach advantage here. He has good striking. He has sneaky good jujitsu when he's not playing footsies with Pat Sabatini. He has a wrestling background where he wrestled collegiately. His cardio seems to check out. He's real tall, lanky for the division. The perfect fighting body. He does everything right. He throws pretty decent volume. There's not one hole in Jamal Emmers' game physically. Mentally, not so much. This dude goes out there, and shout out to the best podcast in the business, the Dogger Pass podcast. He's a proverbial apple pie shitter. Just over and over and over again. He will do stupid shit that makes these fights so much closer than they have to be. His last fight against Jack Jenkins, did I think he lost? No. I had a bet on Jack Jenkins, and I thought Jamal Emmers clearly won. However, he had a clear wrestling advantage, and he did not utilize it until he thought this fight is kind of close. Let me take down Jack Jenkins and secure this fight. In the third round, he took him down and dominated. Why he didn't do that in round one and wanted to throw leg kicks with Jack Jenkins, who breaks people's legs with leg kicks, I have no idea. I don't know why he was just trading kicks back and forth with someone who just kicks their entire fight. Again, before that, he lost to Pat Sabatini. Pat Sabatini is a terrible chin. He has okay wrestling, but he has really good jujitsu. That's all he has. Emmers is just as good of a wrestler. It's going to be really hard for Pat Sabatini to take him down. On paper, Emmers has the better wrestling than Pat Sabatini. All Emmers had to do is keep the fight standing, and he knocks him out. And in fact, in the first 30 seconds of the fight, he dropped Pat Sabatini badly. Pat had no idea where he was. What does Emmers do? He goes down to the ground and plays jiu-jitsu with a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. What happens? He gets his leg snapped off. Like, how stupid. And he did the same exact thing with Giga Chikadze in his debut. He went out there. Giga Chikadze is a glory kickboxer known for having dynamic striking, shoots zero fucking takedowns until round 3. Goes out there, dominates round 3, gets a really, really dominant round, but decided to strike with the glorified kickboxer for the first 2 rounds and loses a split decision. Like, he's one of these guys that really reminds me of John Jones, how he says he wants to beat you where you're good. Like, he wants to strike with Machida. He wants to grapple with DC. Like, that's what he wants to do. He wants to prove that he's better than you everywhere. He does this over and over and over again. And Jamal Emmers does the exact same thing. And it's the most frustrating thing in the world. I mean, and his losses are good. I mean, Ray Chihula was in the UFC. Thiago Moises is still in the UFC. Losses to Julian Erosa's in the UFC. Like, he's not losing to bad guys. It's just he could have so much better wins on his record if he just fought smart. On the other side, I just think Dennis Bazooka doesn't have it. I don't think he's that good at all. I'm not impressed. He seems to have okay wrestling. That seems to be his bread and butter. His striking's all right, but it's not the greatest thing I ever saw in the world. His claim to fame is being durable. He's really, really, really tough to put out. Even when you look at his losses, Sean Woodson on decision. Sean Woodson on short notice, he lost by decision. Melsik Bagdasarian, he lost by decision. His first career loss, he lost by decision. Like, this dude has never been finished, not even in the amateur scene. Again, he's just kind of a little bit of a generalist. He has decent striking, he has decent grappling, but he's a little bit of a punching bag out there. He's pretty hittable. If we're talking about your durability, that's questionable. That means you're getting hit a ton. So realistically, Jamal Emmers goes out there and he outclasses Dennis Bazooka on the feet. We just saw Sean Woodson do that with and utilizing his kicks, utilizing his range. He's fighting the same body type. He should be able to go out there, and Ember should be able to pick him apart as he wants. Here's the problem. I want to lock Jamal Emmers. I want to put Jamal Emmers in every single lineup. I want to put Jamal Emmers in every single parlay. But we said New York is sketchy. Dennis Bazooka trains with Sarah Longo at Law MMA and Weidman. So he is the New York guy, and we're in New York. And the first fight of the night, the crowd is fucking pumped. They're juiced. Fights are just starting, and they're just really, really behind their hometown guy every single time. Bazooka also likes to pressure forward, and Emmers will allow his opponent to do so. So although he's the one landing, and he lands his jabs, he lands his leg kicks, if Dennis just throws one hard shot and connects to the body or something, and the crowd goes crazy, it can sway these crazy judges. So Emmers is definitely going to win this fight on paper. In regards to crowd reaction, questionable judges, and again, Bazooka is very durable. It's going to go the distance. I feel a lot more comfortable just betting the over. A minus 240 is a lot of chalk. Is Jamal Emmers safe? Yes. Should he win? Yes. Will the crowd screw and judges screw him? There's a high possibility because he likes to screw himself. So at this point, I'm going to pick Jamal Emmers. I can't bet Bazooka because he should get killed, but I can't trust Emmers. If anything, I'm just taking the over and calling it a day. I know it's eating chalk, but if you just take Emmers, it's even more chalk. So the pick is going to be Emmers, but the bet's going to be the over. Stay away from these judges. Speaking of crazy judges, next fight of the night, we have another one that's probably going to go the distance. We have Joshua Van minus 225 going up against Kevin Borjas at plus 185. Over under sitting at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 110. Under 2.5 minus 120. Essentially a pick 'em. Let's start with Joshua Van because I like this kid a lot. It's totally my fault. I did lock Zalgas against this guy mainly because on the regional scene, my exact words were, I actually like this kid. I think he's very, very good. I think he could be a potential champion later on in life. Problem is, it's too much too soon. Those were my words. He's great, could be a potential champion, too much too soon. He was a 21-year-old kid, and he went out there and he dominated the fight. It was not too much too soon. He proved me wrong. He's 22 now and made a believer out of me. He shut my ass up. He has really, really good striking, a really crisp jab. He has sneaky good jujitsu. He hasn't been doing it long, but he is fearless, man. I mean, his literal nickname is the Fearless, and that's the way he fights. Even if you show him something 1 week ago, he's going to go out there and he's going to try it. Like, he doesn't care. He's just out there essentially experimenting. His wrestling's not the greatest. That's where his downfall is, and that's one of the reasons I picked Zalgas. He's not the most difficult to take down, but he throws a ton of volume, a crap ton of volume. In his cardio, he's 22. It definitely it keeps up. He has a really, really, really good pace. And he'll move forward a lot. He will pressure you and go forward as he's throwing all of this volume. It looks really good. It looks really crisp. This dude is an excellent striker. He's learning on the ground, but you see improvement. And these young kids, from fight to fight, you see them level up over and over, especially around this age. He has it. Like, there's certain guys, the Muhammad Makayevs who came in at 22, 23, the Aaron Blanchfields that came in at 21 and 22 or whatever she was. Like, you can tell some of these young kids and they're it. Like, they just have it. John Jones, when he first started, you could tell he is the future. That is the exact way I feel about Joshua Van. Only problem Joshua Van is going to run into is if he gets a vet lesson. Zalgas wasn't able to get it, and I know it's at a split decision. It wasn't a split. Joshua won. But if he fights a little too much too soon, he could get a vet lesson. Or I'm scared if he fights a really good wrestler, they'll be able to take advantage of where his one part of the game where he's trying to get better at currently. Good news for him is that he's not facing that at all with Kevin Borjas. Kevin Borjas is a striker, and he's 25 years old, man. He's also a kid. He's also just kind of learning on the fly. He's predominantly a striker as well. He has really good striking. He has really good cardio himself. He has decent volume. He'll have a 3-inch reach advantage here, which is super nice, especially because one of Van's best weapons is a jab. So that 3-inch reach advantage, he might be able to, if he uses it correctly, he might be able to take away one of Van's best moves, to be honest with you. But his weak spot is his wrestling and jiu-jitsu. So we saw him on the Contender Series fighting, Diaz, Victor Diaz. I had a bet on Diaz. Diaz went out there and dominated him. Boris had nothing going on the ground. Like, he looked like a fish out of water on the ground. He had no idea what was going on down there. And he was not difficult to take down, especially Diaz taking the fight on really short notice. It was like a week and a half notice. He missed weight trying to do so. And it looked like it because he gassed. And Kevin has good cardio, and he took over in round 2, and he dominated in round 3. Like, Kevin looked very, very good. But again, that was against a guy taken out on 1 week's notice. Here's the irony of this fight. These two are going to be very familiar with each other because Joshua Van fought Zalgas Zumagulov on a week's notice. Why? Because he was pulled from his Contender Series fight. Joshua Van was 21 years old. He was supposed to fight on the Contender Series. Who was he supposed to fight? Kevin Borjas. Like, these two were originally slated to fight on the Contender Series. Now they're fighting in the UFC, both with UFC contracts, but the UFC wants a slow build for both of these young men. They see potential for both of them. They want to know which one to push. Me personally, I'm going with Josh Van. The UFC is uncertain at this moment, but the other advantage to Van is, one, he has the best win on the record. Zalgas is one hell of a fighter. Getting that win is huge. Secondly, he already fought in the UFC in front of a crowd because he got that short notice call up. They didn't call Kevin up. They called up Van. Van was the favorite going into the Contender Series fight. He's the favorite now. They thought a little more of Van, and that's why they brought him up first. But yeah, he already had that fight in the UFC. This is gonna be Kevin's first rodeo in the UFC. And not only that, it's in front of a crowd. Is he gonna get stage fright? Is he gonna get the octagon jitters? Van didn't, and Van shouldn't his second go around in front of a crowd. So at the end of the day, I think Van is the more skilled guy. He's the one that's already been there, and he's the one that has the better wins on his record. So the pick is going to be Joshua Van. The bet's going to be Joshua Van, and I'm praying for a slow build because this kid could really be something. Don't give him too much too soon. He's only 22. He just turned 22. This next fight does not have a bunch of young prospects. It's Kung Ho Kang at plus 120 going up against John Castaneda at minus 140. Over under also at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 220. Under 2.5 plus 170. Let's start with Sexy Mexy John Castaneda. He's someone I thought very, very little of, but he's grown on me throughout his UFC tenure, to be honest with you. Initially, I thought that he was kind of not long for the UFC, but he's a good striker, man. He has better wrestling than I had realized. I didn't realize how good his wrestling truly was. He's rocking a 71% takedown defense. He's a little hittable. I don't like that. But a lot of that was his short notice fight against Nathaniel Wood in his debut. Nathaniel kind of put it on him a little bit. But we've seen that Nathaniel Wood is very, very good. He fought Eddie Wineland. That was a layup, and he did what he was supposed to do. First round knockout. He fought Miles Johns, was supposed to lose that fight, but showed off his stellar takedown defense. and ultimately drowned Miles John and got a submission finish in the third round. No one saw that coming. Then he fought Daniel Santos and basically killed the man in round one. But the thing with Daniel Santos is he trains with Oliveira and fights just like him. Wily Cat, you got to put him down, but you have to put him out, or he's going to keep coming at you and eventually break you. And that's exactly what happened to Castaneda. It was almost a 10-8 round one, but Wily Cat came out and just broke him round two. And Wily Cat's good, so no problems there. And Muin Gafrov is someone I actually believe in a lot. I think Muin's actually a pretty decent fighter. Accepted the fight on short notice from Muin, or Muin took it on short notice. But again, both of them have to accept it, and Sexy Mexi accepted a tough fight against Muin in a tough matchup and dominated. Almost put him out in the first with a head kick. Got pressured, but did a really good job counter striking the whole time. His cardio looked great. This kid's just getting better and better and better. And again, I call him a kid. He's 31 years old, but he's in his prime. This John Castaneda now compared to the John Castaneda that I saw on the regional scene in Combate and in his first fight against Nathaniel Wood, two completely different fighters. This one is actually pretty decent, and I have to give him credit. He's better than I thought he was. Kung Ho Kang, on the other hand, is not a bad fighter himself, but he's 36 years old. He's towards the end of his career, not in his prime. He doesn't have a 2-inch reach advantage here, which is super nice, but Mr. Perfect can be summed up in one word: generalist. That's what he is. He's an okay grappler. He's an okay wrestler. He's an okay striker. He does everything right. He does nothing wrong. Everything's technical. He is not a huge athlete, and he's not great anywhere, but he has enough athleticism, and he's not bad anywhere. Like, he is the definition of a generalist. His volume could be a little better. But I mean, he's one of these guys, he doesn't really have a ton of power, but he will stun you from time to time. He's not one hitting anyone, he's not putting anyone out. I know he almost put out Christian Quiones in his last fight. He gave him a nice little clubbing sub, but outside of that, he still didn't even put him out. He just his striking, he'll stun you from time to time. He has a really strong jab, which is going to be nice having 2-inch reach advantage here, but I don't know, man. This fight is close. Sexy Mexi is someone that I thought was getting better each fight. Kang is someone who is just steady each fight. Did Castaneda just go over the hump? Did he go over the bar? Is he enough to beat Kang? Odds makers aren't sure. That's why the line is so close. I'm going to go ahead and pick Castaneda. I've bet against him too much. I will hop on the train now, even if it's late. He'll probably end up biting me. But what I'm going to do instead is going to take the over. Both these guys are durable as hell. And both these guys have some power, but don't generally put you right out if they don't have a lot of one-hitter quitter power. So at that juncture, if you have a durable guy on the other side and you're just not knocking everyone out, I think this fight goes the distance. It's going to be close. It could end up being a split decision. It's going to be one of the closest fights of the night. But as long as everything stays status quo, it's going to go to decision, and that's what I'm going to stay with. So the pick is going to be Castaneda, but the bet's going to be over 2.5. It honestly could be a pretty boring fight, but if you win money on it, nothing's boring. Speaking of boring fights, next fight we have Mark Madsen at plus 165 going up against Jared Flash Gordon at minus 200. Over 2.5 is minus 300. Under 2.5 plus 220. Again, I think all of these overs are live, and I think all of these dogs are live. So it's a matter of what make sure you're looking to do. And I don't think this fight is any different. Mark Madsen is an Olympic wrestler. If you have that pedigree, you will always be live to win a fight. You look at the Ronda Rouseys, the Daniel Cormiers, the Randy Couture's, the Dan Hendersons. These Olympic wrestlers come in and they dominate. And that's what he's good at. He has great wrestling. He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage here. That's about it, man. This guy's jiu-jitsu is not good. His striking's not good. It's gotten better over the years. He's pretty strong, has a pretty decent jab on him. That's about it, man. He's got a good jab and good wrestling. That's all he has. Pretty one-dimensional. His cardio is pretty bad. He's had a good camp with Fight Ready, so obviously they'll make sure that he's ready. He's coming off his first career loss, so I'm sure he's going to be motivated. But again, the dude's 39 years old, isn't known for having a good gas tank. Even if he has the best game plan in the world, Father Time is undefeated. So if he fights anyone pretty decent, he's in some trouble here. Good news for him is he's fighting Jared Flash Gordon, who's not exactly young himself. He's 35 years old. And he himself is a little bit of a generalist. He's good everywhere, not bad anywhere. Like he is okay wrestler. He's an okay striker. He's in like a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. Like he's pretty decent. He's good everywhere. The thing with Flash Gordon is he is a little chinny. So if he's fighting a power striker, you will put him out. The Charles Oliveira's put him out. Grant Dawson submitted him because Grant's that good on the ground. We had the Joaquim Silva put him out. Diego Ferreira put him out. Like he's been finished a ton. But again, Madsen, all he has is a jab. He's not a power striker, and he's not that good on the ground. So Madsen is not going to finish Gordon. My problem is that Gordon has a 62% takedown defense. That's not a number you want to see when he's going against an Olympian. He has okay cardio. He's definitely going to be faster. It's just he's kind of small. I know he used to fight at 145 a little bit. And I think that was the better weight class for him. I don't like him at 155, to be 100% honest with you. I think he's too small. But he said he was struggling to make that 145 weight limit. It was just too much on his body. I understand that. I respect that. Fight at 155 then. It's just he has a 145 frame. And I think Madsen might be able to bully him. It's just it's not if, it's when Madsen takes him down. How long is he going to hold him down, and how much control time how much is that going to factor into the decision? How much damage is he going to be able to do on the ground? Because damage over everything right now in MMA judging, and Madsen doesn't do a lot of damage, but Gordon can't stuff a takedown. So it's tough. It's stupid. I usually side with the cardio, but Madsen might be able to stall here. Again, this is another one where the right play is going to be the over, but it's juiced to minus 300. So at that point, I'm taking those winnings from last week, and I'm just taking a dog shot. Give me Mark Madsen, and I don't see him finishing this fight any other way by decision. So I might get greedy, and I might do Madsen by decision. I don't think it's a terrible bet. It's going to have a ton of value, and I'm just looking to get paid. So the pick is going to be Mark. The bet's going to be Mark by decision. Trying to get some extra money on there. Next fight of the night is going to break my heart. I have Alessandro Costa at plus 140 going up against Steve Erceg at minus 165. Over 2.5 is minus 130. Under 2.5 at plus 100. The reason it's going to break my heart is because I love Steve Erceg. He is one of my favorite fighters in the sorry, it's not even the next fight, but we're gonna go about it. He's one of my favorite fighters in the flyweight division. Honestly, I think it's obviously Raw Dog. That's my favorite. It's always been my favorite, but Steve Erceg might be number 2 in that division. I love Steve Erceg, but I think he's going to lose this fight. Let me tell you why. Steve Erceg is a sneaky good jiu-jitsu practitioner. People don't realize how good he is. He looks relatively unassuming when you look. He doesn't really look like a fighter. He kind of has those Ryan Hall vibes, to be honest with you. And that's where he's good. He's good on the ground. These weird, like these goofy looking, no muscle guys are absolutely vicious on the ground. Their jiu-jitsu is phenomenal, but this dude's a badass on the feet. The dude can take quite a hit, takes a ton of punishment, is a really good striker. And so he's one of these guys that have the 2 best base. If you can strike and you're confident on the ground, your wrestling he doesn't care about. And his wrestling, is it okay? Yeah, I've seen him take guys down. His wrestling's not the worst in the world. Honestly, I thought it was going to be worse than it was when I did fight tape. It's not a terrible wrestler, but he's really good on the ground and he's very good on the feet. So he just doesn't care where the fight is taking place. He's going to beat you either place. And for the most part, that's been true. The guy's rocking a 10-1 record fighting over in the Australia regional scene. He had wins over UFC vets prior to coming into the UFC. And Shannon Ross, and then he came out here and he beat the number 10 ranked flyweight on short notice in his UFC debut. That's tough to do, man. He has an inch and a half in reach, which is a good thing here. He has great cardio, which is a good thing here. My concern with Steve Erceg is I do see someone eventually putting him out. If you hit hard enough, this dude refuses to move his head. Like, he has some of the worst head movement I've ever seen in the octagon. He does not move his head. Don't get me wrong. He's durable as fuck. No one's been able to put him out. However, one of these days, someone's going to catch him. You can only rely on your chin so much. Eventually, they're going to catch you. The other thing I don't like is that if he finds someone that's going to force him to only strike and he's a lesser striker, that's going to be a little bit of an issue. And I think that's kind of his kryptonite, someone that can keep the fight on the street or on the feet and can outstrike him. And if they hit hard, it's even scarier because he gets hit a ton. He's very, very, very hittable. What I described to you is Costa. Like that's all Costa does. He hits extremely hard. He's very powerful. He's a little lower volume, so he does let people into fights because of how low volume he is. But he's rocking a 90% takedown defense. So Ursug's not going to be able to take him down. He's also very, very good on the ground. So if somehow they do end up on the ground, he can get up. I know sometimes he'll get stuck down there. I don't think he will in this instance. I think he'll be able to get back up. He throws a ton of leg kicks, and Steve Ursig does not check leg kicks. And he throws with a ton of heat, and Steve Ursig does not move his head. So I am petrified. I love Steve Ursig, but Costa being competent on the ground, throwing the two strikes that absolutely smash Ursig all the time, the amount of power he has, this is scary. And this fight is on short notice. And usually I was going to say that's better for Ursig, and it is. Because if this thing goes past round one, Ursig is a great bet. I would even consider live betting Ursig. I hope Costa comes out here and wins round one, and then I can live bet Ursig. But I don't know if it gets past round one. If Ursig doesn't move his head, Costa might take it off. I'm very, very concerned here. I love my guy. It's on short notice, so Costa's going to try to do that. I think he knows that he can't go cardio for cardio with Steve Ursig on short notice. I think he's cognizant of that. So I think his whole aura is going to be kill, kill, kill. And Ursig is just going to be sitting there waiting to get hit. So I love Steve Ursig. I will rock with this dude his entire UFC run. But I think this is a terrible matchup for him. So the pick is going to be Ursig, but the bet's going to be Costa because that line is growing. And it's grown to the point where I think earlier I saw Costa plus 160. I'm going to have to click that button. The line is off. I might even take him by KO, honestly. I won't get greedy, but the pick is going to be Ursig. The bet's going to be Costa, unfortunately. All right, next fight of the night. Let's get back in order here. We have Nazim Sadykhov going up against Slava Claus. We have I dropped. Oh man. All right. So sorry, things got a little out of order here. Here we go. So Nazim Sadykhov is minus 135. Vyashev Burashev, Slavic Claus is plus 115. Over 2.5 is plus 120. Under 2.5 minus 150. Let's start with Nazim because he's good and I like him. I love that he's the New York guy. He's going to have the crowd behind him. He trains at Serra-Longo like Dennis Bazooka. However, he's a striker. Everyone in that camp, Marab, you look at Aljo, all those guys are grapplers. They're very, very good on the ground. They're very, very good wrestlers. And then you have the secondary crew. You have the Nazims and the Matt Frivolas that only strike and they counter wrestle. Like they don't shoot takedowns. They want to strike with you, but they have good enough takedown defense, really, really, really good takedown defense where they can force you to stand with them the whole time. And they love to brawl. And Nazim loves the brawl. He has good striking, good volume. Again, he has good wrestling, but he just never uses it, refuses to use it. Really good cardio. His jiu-jitsu is not terrible. He is at a good camp for that. The thing with him and he throws a ton of pressure. Like he is always in your face marching forward, and his whole goal is to break you. And again, that's a perfect style, just like his counterpart, Dennis Bazooka, who likes to pressure and just throw volume. That's great, especially with the crowd behind you. My concern is that he has a little bit of a newsmanship. He gets rocked all the time. Like he hasn't actually been being put out. But he has been. I saw him rocked against Terrence McKinney, which okay, Fair. Terrence McKinney hits hard. I saw him rocked against Evan Elder twice. I saw him rocked in his contender series fight. Like, this dude's always getting stunned, and it's scary. Eventually, someone's gonna want him out. I kept saying that about Kamaru Usman. He kept getting rocked by Colby and Tyron Woodley, and he got rocked by Gilbert Burns. It's like eventually someone's gonna put him out. Sure enough, Leon did. That's how he lost. He got knocked out. Nazim's the same way. He's going to keep winning fights. He's going to look phenomenal, but his first loss is going to be by knockout. He thinks he's Iron Man, and eventually someone's going to put his ass out. My major concern with him as well is that he doesn't check leg kicks, and he just gets eaten alive to the body. Like, it is absolutely terrible. Sorry, I'm still having some terrible technical issues. He gets eaten alive to the body. He refuses to check leg kicks, and he refuses to block anything to the body. He just keeps that Philly shell up and make sure you can't crack him with his bad chin. That's not good fighting someone like Slavakos, because Slavakos loves to do body work. He's the striking coach at Team Alpha Male, striking his MO. He's been doing it his entire life. His wrestling is awful. He is the world's worst wrestler in the UFC. His takedown defense is effectively 35%. 35 fucking percent takedown defense. He cannot stuff a takedown. But Nazim refuses to use his wrestling. So what's going to happen? He's going to go and he's going to strike with the striker. And what is Slavakov's favorite place to strike? The body. Hooks to the body. Kicks to the body. Like, he loves body work, and he cracks. He packs a punch. That is not good for someone that might be low-key chinny and refuses to block stuff. So if I had confidence that Nazim was going to come out, use the crowd to his advantage with the pressure and the striking, and just take down Slavakos to secure the round and secure the win, Nazim would be a lock. But I haven't seen Nazim wrestle. I've only seen him get one takedown, and it was against Evan Elder after he got rocked. He panic wrestled. So I don't think that counts. And Slavakos, although his takedown defense is terrible, he does do a good job getting up. So you have people like D1D at KC that took him down 10 or 11 times in his fight. That means if he got taken down 11 times, he got up at least 10. So yeah, even if Nazim gets him down, I don't think he's going to hold him down. And we saw in Evan Elder, when he took Evan Elder down, Evan Elder was down for like 10 seconds and was back on his feet. He doesn't have any control. So I think it's going to be a predominantly striking matchup. And Borishev is the more accredited striker, and he's the one with the plus money next to his name. So the pick is going to be Borishev. The bet is going to end up being Slavakos. I love Borishev in this matchup. All right. Next fight of the night, we are looking at the new one added on here, short notice. We have Mateusz Rebecki at minus 650 going up against Roosevelt Roberts at plus 470. I do not have an over-under for this, as it was just added to the card like yesterday or today. At the end of the day, Rebecki was always slated to be on this card. He's 18-1. He's a little fire hydrant. It kind of looks like Michael Chandler's body type, to where he's really short, really stocky, packs a ton of muscles, explosive as all hell. He's essentially Polish Michael Chandler. He cracks and has good wrestling. That's really it. His jiu-jitsu's all right. I think Chandler's is actually better, but his jiu-jitsu's okay. And he pressures you like crazy. He's literally Michael Chandler. That's what he is. He's 18-1. He does have a little bit of a cardio issue. We saw it show up against Nick Fiore in his UFC debut. But outside of that, he did get cracked in that fight too. So I don't know if his chin is something we're too concerned about, but he has one career loss, and it was by knockout. So I've seen him put out and I've seen him crack before. So keep an eye on that. But again, he's been training for this fight the entire time. He has the full fight camp. Roosevelt Roberts is the one taking it on short notice. Roosevelt Roberts, he's going to have a 7-inch reach advantage here. That's massive. But again, he was in the UFC and cut for a reason. Like, he's good. He's not terrible. But he's not, I would say he's UFC caliber, but he's at the very bottom of the barrel in regards to UFC. Ignacio Bahamondes isn't the worst loss, so it was a decent fight. Jim Miller is a badass, but you shouldn't be getting club and subbed by him in 2 minutes. And Vince Pichel's not a terrible fighter either. So his losses aren't bad. But he didn't beat anyone good. Also, beating a Brock Weaver and Alexander Yakovlev, like these aren't exactly great wins in the UFC either. So he is the barometer test. If you're UFC level, you will beat him. If you're not, he will beat you. I think Rebecca is. I can't trust Rebecca at this price tag. Minus 650. Hell no. Don't do that. Do you want to trust Roosevelt Roberts at plus 470? No, hell no. Don't do that. So this is a sheer pass. There's no value on Rebecca. And Roberts essentially has no chance. Again, if I want to get absolutely nuts, I might take Roberts by KO. Just take a peek at what that line is. Because 7 inches is a ton of reach. And if he comes in, these short notice guys, when they know that they're going to be at a disadvantage and they took the fight just for a paycheck, Roosevelt took the fight for a contract. It wouldn't have mattered if they said fight Conor McGregor, if they said fight Islam Makhachev. As long as he gets another fight in the UFC and gets another opportunity, he would have said yes to anybody. So he said yes to Mateus just to get his foot in the door again. Does he believe he's going to win? I don't know. Probably not. So he's going to go out there with the puncher's chance. And again, Rebecca's been KO'd before. So I'm not trusting Rebecca. I think Roberts is a sitting duck, but I might, if I'm feeling crazy, I might bet him by KO. So the pick is going to be Rebecca. The bet's going to be Roberts by KO. Just shooting for the stars, maybe. Next fight of the night. We have another interesting one here. We have Tabitha Ricci going up against Lupita Godinez. We have Lupi as a minus 170 favorite, Tabitha Ricci plus 140. Over under sitting at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 410. Under 2.5 is plus 290. Let's start with Lupi because I'm gonna defend my girl. Here's the deal. Lupi, one of my favorite female fighters in the UFC. She's good, man. She's really good. Here, let me pull this back up for you. Sorry, we lost the share screen. We are struggling today. Libby's good though. She has good wrestling. She has good jujitsu. Her striking's decent. It's a little low volume, but it was pretty high volume the last two fights against Emily Ducote and Elise Reed. She was doing out there slanging. Um, she can slow down in her fights, which is a little concerning, but she's a pretty decent schedule. I mean, Elise Reed, Emily Ducati, Cynthia Calvillo, Angela Hill, Luana Carolina up a weight class. We're looking at Vanessa Demopoulos on the regional scene. Like she's fighting decent girls the entire time. Luma Lugbume, like a win over Luma Lugbume looks really good now, to be honest with you. So at the end of the day, she's a little bit of a general. She's a good wrestler, especially for women's MMA. She's a good striker. She is okay jujitsu. But she can slow down in her fights. That's the thing. She's not bad. She's not gassing, but in the third round, she is not the same as she was in the first. And she likes to pressure you. The thing that I have to defend about Loopy is that everyone's going to say she has poor fight IQ. I don't think that's true necessarily. Yes, she has 3 losses in the UFC, but here's the deal: the Jessica Panay fight, it was a split decision, and I think she got robbed. Other part of that being she took the fight and it was her UFC debut. I will give anyone a pass on their UFC debut, especially in front of a crowd. There was a lot going on there. Again, I thought she won the fight, and it was a very peculiar one. Jessica Panay was just taking her back and holding there and not doing anything, and she just wanted to stay safe. She was undefeated, making her debut. A lot of jitters. I'm gonna cut her a pass for losing a split decision that I thought she won to a UFC vet. She got a vet lesson in her debut. Her next fight she lost was to Luana Carolina, and she took the fight on less than a week's notice. Look at it. She fought on the 9th and then fought again on the 16th. She fought 2 consecutive weeks, and this was up a weight class. And Luana is one of the biggest flyweights in the division. So come fight time, there was like a 30-pound difference. She tried to wrestle Luana. She just couldn't. She was too physically small, and she just fought a week prior. Give the girl a pass. And then her next fight against Angela Hill, they're going to say, why the fuck did she not wrestle against Angela Hill? Well, here's the deal. That fight was also on short notice. The other part of that, it was at a catch weight because it was at short notice, and she had a really bad weight cut, and there was something wrong with her. And she went on record saying how ill she felt. It's not that she didn't want to wrestle Angela Hill, but we saw it in Contender Series this year. I cannot think of the guy's name to save my life. Casey Kenny, Casey. God, he trains at Fight Ready. I can't remember him, but he is a good wrestler. He's a very good jujitsu practitioner, and he was fighting someone that can only strike. And all he did was strike the entire time. He was saying he was feeling ill, he was having issues, and the one thing he couldn't do without feeling like he was going to like shit himself and puke all over the place, he couldn't wrestle. He could strike all day, but he was going to slow down a little, and he couldn't wrestle. He couldn't do all the bending down and all of the twisting and contorting. It was just too much for him when he felt ill. Loopy said she took the fight on short notice and felt very ill. She had the exact same thing. It's not the first time we saw this where someone that is supposed to wrestle just physically could not. So she went out there and she scrapped with Angela Hill. And honestly, it was a close fight. She won round one in a in a striking battle with someone that only strikes and one of the best strikers in the division. If they fought again, I think Loopy absolutely kills Angela Hill, but she could not wrestle that night. So at the end of the day, does she have 3 losses? Yes. Did they look good? No. Were every single one of them on short notice? Yeah. And was she ill for one of them and in a wrong weight class for another? Yeah, like there's so many excuses to be made. I don't want to just make excuses for these fighters, but to say she has poor fight IQ, there's a lot more that goes into it. You have to read the entire story. So we saw her last fight, Elise Reed. Everyone was scared that she was going to try to strike with her. She had her rocked and still took her down because she knew that was the easiest path to victory and ultimately got the sub. So I think she's going to be fine here. The reason I went on that long rant is because Tabitha Ricci, there's a clear path to victory here, and that is to keep it on the feet. Tabitha Ricci, Baby Shark, terrible striker. God awful striker. Her jujitsu is great. Trains with Mackenzie Dern, phenomenal jujitsu practitioner. Her wrestling, not that good. She tries to bully you. She tries to outmuscle you. She is not going to outmuscle Lupi Godinez. And Lupi also is rocking an 82% takedown defense. So Baby Shark, good luck. If she gets her down, Baby Shark could definitely win rounds by staying on top. We saw Cynthia Calvillo take down Lupi, and it took her a while to get back up. It does take some time for her, so the only way Tabitha wins this fight is to take her down and hold her down or even try to sub her. But I always said I'm fading Tabitha Ricci the first chance I get. I tried it last time against Jillian Robertson. I was like, you know what? Jillian Robertson, if she takes her down to the ground, Jillian wants to be on the ground. This is going to be a good matchup for her. Tabitha Ricci also has bad cardio. So I was going to live, and I did live bet Jillian Robertson later on in that fight because Tabitha does slow down. Then she went out there and I watched the fight tape and I was like, you know what? Her striking didn't look half bad. It actually, maybe this is going to be pretty close on the feet. And then I remembered she's striking against Jillian Robertson. Jillian Robertson is literally one of the worst strikers I've ever seen in my life in this weight class, in the UFC in general. Jillian Robertson doesn't physically know how to strike. That's not any detriment to her. I think Jillian Robinson is a phenomenal fighter, but one of the worst strikers I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, you know what? Tabitha looked fine on the feet her last fight. And then I remembered she's fighting someone that doesn't know how to strike. Of course she looked fine. Loopy knows how to strike on the feet. Loopy, not easy to take down. Can Loopy slow down in her fights? Yes. Does Tabitha every time? Yes. Does Tabitha try to just muscle you? Absolutely. Is she going to be able to muscle Loopy? Not a fucking chance. And Tabitha herself, 66% takedown defense. So if Loopy wants us down, she can take her down. She dictates where they want this fight to go. And then I started looking at other fights. I mean, Maria Oliveira was able to get up relatively fast against Tabitha Ricci. We saw Manon Farrell go out there. And again, Manon is a huge girl. It was Tabitha up a weight class, but we've seen her cracked and put out before. Like Loopy has so many routes to victory. She could outpoint her. She could literally KO her. She could take her down and just stay on control and decision her. She can do basically whatever she wants. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna lock Loopy Godinez. I think she's gonna absolutely kill Tabitha. I always and Tabitha gets backed up all the time. She'll throw in combos, but she's backing up, and that does not look good. Again, we're looking at this sketchy judging in New York. Loopy's going to be throwing the harder shots and going forward, and we'll get the takedowns if she needs to. Yeah, we got Loopy here. So the pick is going to be Loopy. The bet is going to be Loopy Godinez. I always wanted to fade Tabitha. Now she's fighting my girl. Got to do it. All right, next fight of the night is going to take us to the main card. We have Pat Sabatini minus 120 going up against Diego Lopez plus 100. Over 2.5 is plus 120. Under 2.5 at minus 150. Let's start with tonight might be the night. Diego Lopez himself. Diego Lopez, first things first, phenomenal jiu-jitsu. You're going to hear it over and over and over again. He is the jiu-jitsu coach for Alexa Grasso, for Irene Aldana, for Lupi Godinez now that they train together. He is the jiu-jitsu coach for all those people over there. He is a high level Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. Like, this dude has an active guard. Even his last fight, he threw basically a flying triangle up against another black belt in Gavin Tucker, and eventually got the submission with a triangle armbar against a black belt in 1 minute. And he threw a flying one up there. So that's very interesting. But he's not one-dimensional. The dude can strike. He kind of reminds me of Kyle Borrallo, where he has like kind of a bouncy karate style, but he cracks and has a ton of power. If you go down to the ground, that's fine. The difference is, though, Kyle will wrestle to get you on top. Diego doesn't care how you get to the ground. He'll pull guard. He'll let you take him down. He'll shoot a sloppy takedown. He's not a good wrestler, and he knows this, but he just wants it on the ground because he's that good. But if he does want to stay on the feet and want to use a game plan, because he is the better striker here, he's going to have a 2.5-inch reach advantage. Again, 33% takedown defense is not good, but that's by design. He wants to go down to the ground. His cardio is good. He has really good cardio. He doesn't slow down at all. My only cons with Diego is that he's a little lower volume. Although he hits hard, he dropped Mazar Evloev. He dropped God, what's his name on the Contender Series? Joe Anderson Brito on the Contender Series. Like, he's dropping good guys. He hits really hard. It's just lower volume. And the only other thing I don't like about Diego is, although he's that fucking good on the ground, he likes to play jujitsu. Sometimes you just got to get up. Like, there are points in time where you may not sub that guy, or at least right now in this round, get back up to the feet, try to strike, and then find a new way to the ground. You got to start fresh. You got to renew. You can't just stay on the ground and let that time click away, and he will let that time tick away. And Pat Sabatini, that's all he wants to do. Pat Sabatini is a college wrestler with really good jujitsu. He's a short little fire hydrant tank as well. He's a black belt himself, and he definitely has a collegiate background to take Diego down and just stay safe. If Pat Sabatini wins this fight, there is no way he's knocking out Diego. There's no way he's submitting Diego. He takes Diego down and just lay in praise the entire time. He did it to Tristan Connolly. He did it to Lucas Almeida until he ultimately got to finish there. He did it to TJ Laramie. He did it to Tucker Lutz. Take you down, hold you down, stay there. That's all he does. And I really hate how low volume Diego Lopez is. Pat Sabatini is worse. Pat Sabatini lands 1.9 significant strikes per minute. 1.9. Not even 2 strikes per minute. Like, that's insane. That's almost like Muhammad Usman level low volume. Like, it's bad. He doesn't throw a thing. And part of that is because he just wants to stay safe. And when they're on the feet, this dude's chinny. Very chinny. Again, we aforementioned the Jamal Emmers fight. We saw Emmers drop him. Damon Jackson, as a grappler, went out there and head kicked him in 1 minute and put his lights out. Like, it's concerning. He's getting dropped all the time. He has losses to Chepe Mariscal, which that's not a bad loss. His losses are actually to good people. I will give him that. He has a win over Damon Blackshear. That aged great. His wrestling is that good. Like, he's a very good wrestler. And his jiu-jitsu is very good, but it's not Diego Lopez level. So this comes down to, is Diego going to crack him and put him out? Or is he going to submit him on the ground? Or are we going to have Pat Sabatini lay and pray the entire time? I'm telling you right now, the crowd's going to be behind Diego. Diego's going to get them excited. He's going to get the chanting. And if Pat just lay in praise, Diego can land strikes on the bottom and win a round. We saw it in, at the last UFC event with Islam. We saw the Sharabutin one-eyed guy win a round from throwing elbows on the ground. Like, I see Diego doing the same thing because Pat doesn't throw at all. Like, he is a wet blanket, and it is position over submission, and it is position over strikes at that point. 1.9 significant strikes. The man doesn't throw, and his cardio questionable. We saw it slow down in the Tristan Connolly fight. It didn't look good. If you're able to stay, you saw it in the Tucker Lutz fight. He slowed down too. Like, he's slowing down and he's on top. So his cardio is questionable. His chin questionable. He has zero volume, and now he's fighting someone that's even better on the ground. If he gets caught, he's going out. If he doesn't get caught, he wins this by decision. So what do you think is going to happen? Pat by decision, or is it Lopez inside the distance? I don't know, but Lopez does have the plus money next to his name. He's had the crowd behind him, and the judges can get sketchy. So the pick is going to be Diego, and the bet's going to be Diego. Give me another dog. Speaking of dogs, let's get crazy. Matt Frivola, plus 190, going up against Benoit Saint Denis at minus 230. Over 1.5 is plus 105. Under 1.5, minus 135. Like Tabitha Ricci, I've been trying so hard to fade Benoit Saint Denis. Why? Because he's not good. Benoit Saint Denis is not good. He's a size bully. That's all he is. He's not a good wrestler, but he will take you down. He's not a good jiu-jitsu practitioner, but he can submit you. He is not a good striker at all, but can crack you if he wants to. Why? Because he's always bigger than everybody. And what is he getting? Like, the one time he fought someone his size, it was on short notice, granted, up a weight class at welterweight, but him and Zaleski are the same size, and Zaleski absolutely killed him. We literally, we saw again that ref got kicked out for not stopping the fight. Benoit, he's very, very hittable. He'll have a 2-inch reach advantage here. He's going to be the bigger man here, too. That's what he does. He'll have a 2-inch reach advantage here. He loves the pressure. He's very aggressive. He's not a good striker. He's just very, very aggressive. You can crack him, though, and he's countered a ton. When he decides he just wants to scrap, he has his hands very low, and he just starts swinging. Zero technique, wild hooks, gets hit coming back, and gets rocked all the time. Again, Alessio Zaleski rocked him. Nick Stolze did not. But the one that concerns me, Gabriel Miranda rocked him. Gabriel Miranda is one of the worst strikers in the UFC, and he rocked him like in Paris. Like, that's concerning because he just gave zero fucks, marched forward, said, I'm bigger and stronger than you. I'm going to win this fight. That's what he does. He's not technical. He's not good. He is just a very large man, and he stays in your face. Here's the problem here. He's fighting Matt Frivola. I hate Matt Frivola, but he has earned my respect. I've continually tried to fade this man. I mean, look at his picture. Jesus Christ, I can't defend him while looking at this. Let's pull that up. Matt Frivola, I've tried to fade this man repeatedly, and he has proved me wrong the last 2 fights. Honestly, realistically, looking back, fading him against Valdez was stupid. Valdez is not good. I think that was a sheer money line play, just trying to take advantage of the value play, and it was stupid. Valdez got knocked out 4 times in 3 minutes. Like, it was concerning. Trying to fade him against Otman Azatar, not smart. Azatar, yeah, he's a killer, but he is a fraud, and we all knew he was a fraud coming in, but we're thinking maybe Matt's a little bit of a fraud too, and he can crack him. No, he could not. And then the last fight, I was convinced Drew Dober, this is it. He's going to rock his shit. What does Matt Frivola do? He goes out there and knocks out someone that's never been knocked out before. He knocked out Drew Dober, who is a great striker and durable as all hell. So Frivola packs a punch, carries a ton of power. The other thing with Frivola is that he's a great wrestler. He's a very, very good wrestler. His takedown defense isn't going to look as good as it truly is because he fought Arman Tsarukyan on short notice, and he took him down like 11 times on Fight Island a few years ago. You take that fight away, he has really high takedown defense. And we saw him beat someone via wrestling, Jalen Turner. Jalen Turner's a great fighter. He's a top 15 guy right now in the weight class. Matt Favola went out there and beat Jalen Turner clean. Like that's impressive. His jiu-jitsu's fine. Again, he is the hometown guy. The crowd's gonna be behind Matt Favola. You can back him up, which is a little concerning, especially because Benoit loves to go forward. But I looked at it, the Valdez fight, he rocked him with a counter right hook. The Ottman fight, he rocked him with a counter right hook. And the Drew Dober fight knocked him out with a counter right hook. What do I see when Benoit decides to strike? He just throws with reckless abandonment and he gets countered. Like Frivola has gotten 3 consecutive knockouts the exact way Benoit fights. Pressuring forward, Matt will back up, stop, stand his ground, and throw a counter right hook and put you out. 3 straight fights. And I see Benoit get clipped with this. Gabriel Miranda dropped him from this. If Matt Frivola hits him with that, he's going out. The only reason I'm not all in on Matt Frivola is his chin is bad. His chin's very bad. Terrence McKinney knocked him out in 7 seconds. Like, first punch he threw, bang, he's out. We saw Luis Pena drop him. We saw Jalen Turner drop him. We saw the Lando Venata fight went to a draw because Venata dropped him twice in the 3rd round and almost put him out. Polo Reyes in his debut dropped him and put him out. Like, this dude has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's had 9 fights. Valdez dropped him. And out of his 9 fights, let's see, Dober. He has not been dropped in 4 of his 9 fights. He gets dropped more than he doesn't. And 2 of the times he went out. So, yeah, his chin's very, very, very concerning. And again, Benoit is not good. Benoit sucks. He's just a size bully, but he's strong. And Frivola does not have a chin. So, which one of these fraudulent guys is going out? A lot of money's coming in on Benoit Saint Denis, but Matt Frivola's in his hometown, baby. Plus 190 on the guy that hits probably harder. Yes, the worst. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's whoever lands first. And if I have almost plus 200 on one side, I'm taking that. I'm not getting greedy and taking the knockout prop. I'm just going to go ahead and take Frivola. There's enough juice on it by itself. So the pick is going to be Matt Frivola. The bet's going to be Matt Frivola. Benoit Saint Denis is a fraud. Eventually, he's going to run into someone that he just cannot outsize. Is Frivola the guy? I don't know. Probably not. But should Frivola be plus 190? Fuck no. Take the value. Bet is Frivola. Pick is Frivola. Next fight of the night, we have essentially the same fight. Jessica Andrade, plus 165, going up against Mackenzie Dern at minus 200. Over 2.5 plus 135. Under 2.5 minus 175. Mackenzie Dern's not that good. I'll be honest with you. She looked great in her last fight. Everyone's going to talk about new divorced Mackenzie Dern is unstoppable. I went back and I watched the fight because I remember her being dominant. When you do the fight tape, it's not as crazy as you think. She got 3 takedowns against Angela Hill. Good for her. They were sloppy. They were head and arms. They were like throws where she had to roll through. Like, they were not your standard takedowns. They didn't look good. Did she go out there and crack Angela Hill? Absolutely. But did Angela Hill get like dropped and floored? No. She was just really aggressive. She was really in your face. Zero technique whatsoever. Again, she's not a good striker. She's just aggressive. The exact same thing as Benoit Saint Denis. He's not a good striker. He's just aggressive. That's all Dern is. Now, the difference is Dern is world class on the ground. If this thing sniffs the ground, she could submit anybody in her weight. I shit you not, anybody in her weight class in seconds. The floor is lava with Mackenzie Dern. She is that good on the ground. She is also someone that will pull guard. She is someone that will purposely get taken down. I've seen her get dropped, like what looks like on purpose, so that the girls follow her down to the ground and then submit them. Like, she will do anything she can to get this fight to the ground. She's willing to get hurt. She is willing to throw her body. She's willing to pull guard. She's willing to just drop down to the ground. And that fight against Tisha Torres, she didn't even get the takedown. She literally climbed her like a monkey. Like, she she had her arm and then leaped onto her back and then wrapped her legs around her. Literally just wrapped her up and then swung around. Like, her jujitsu's insane. If she gets a hold of you, she realized sometimes she can't take you down. She's just gonna do jujitsu while standing up. Like, she's insane. She's that good on the ground. But her wrestling just has never materialized. And we've seen her get some losses in the UFC, and they're all the same way. Amanda Ribas, she was just able to stay safe on the ground. Ribas is also Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. She stayed safe, good for her. But the Marina Rodriguez fight, Marina Rodriguez is a terrible wrestler. She's rocking like a 40% takedown defense, I'm pretty sure. And Dern couldn't take her down. And when she did, she stayed safe for like 3 minutes, and that's all that she was on the ground with Dern, thank God. But she just pieced her up on the feet. Dern can't strike. Dern is very hittable. Dern has a ton of power, but she doesn't know how to use it on the feet. She's not a good striker. She's physically gifted, and she's that good on the mat, but she just is not a good striker. And all Marina Rodriguez did was point fight her on the feet, keep it on the feet, point fight her, win easy. Yeah, Yan Janan did the same exact thing. Keep it on the feet, point fight her, win easy. Tisha Torres, again, split decision. I thought Tisha Torres still won, but the one round they gave Mackenzie Dern, when she wrapped her up, standing up, she didn't do anything with it. And the rest of the time, Tisha Torres just stayed to the outside, pieced her up, and stayed safe. And it went to a split. I think Tisha got robbed, but hey, it is what it is. All you have to do is point fight this girl. She can't strike. Ton of power, but doesn't know how to use it on the feet. Jessica Andrade has just as much power, and everyone's saying she's phoning it in. She might be fighting out her contract, to be honest with you, but she doesn't want to lose. No one goes out there and it's like, if my arm gets snapped, my arm gets snapped. Like, she's not actively trying to lose. She has good striking. She's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt herself, not to the level of Mackenzie Dern, but just not a fish out of water on the ground. 70% takedown defense. It was actually worse. Although she's looked worse in her fights, her takedown defenses looked better. Erin Blanchfield struggled to get her to the ground. Tatiana Suarez, she stuffed a few takedowns first. Like, her takedown defense is actually getting quite good. Cynthia Calvillo wasn't able to get her down. These are some of the best wrestlers in the weight class, and they were struggling to get her down to the ground. So good for her. Her strikings looked worse. Her jiu-jitsu's looked worse. But her wrestling defense is getting better. um, she carries a ton of power. She has a clear advantage on the feet. Now there is an OnlyFans fade. I don't know. I think Andrade has an OnlyFans. I know there's a ring girl with the last name Andrade. I don't know which one has one. But if it is Jessica, that would explain this losing streak here. They don't win. But at the end of the day, I mean, Tatiana Suarez is the future champ. Yan Janan is about to fight for a title, and Erin Blanchfield, also a future champ. And these are all over the place. She fights at 115. She fights at 135. She fights at 125. She will literally fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. Short notice fights. Erin Blanchfield was short notice. Again, Suarez and Yan were both at 115. And I love that this fight is at 115. Yan, she went out there and she just got smoked real early. She got caught. Shit happens. Tatiana Suarez, best wrestler in the weight class, was able to get her down, has good jiu-jitsu, was able to submit her. Those losses aren't that bad, to be honest with you. And at 115, if she was phoning it in, it would be at 125. I don't think she's just packing her bags if she's fighting another fight at 115. She has to stay extremely disciplined at 115 to make weight. She was a former champion at 115. She has a shorter path at 115 right now, and I think she's staying there because she wants to win. Like, if this fight was at 125, I'd be very concerned. But the fact that it's still at straw weight, it makes me feel like that she's still trying, and they were just bad matchups the last time. Mackenzie Dern, if she stays on the feet, she's going to piece her up. And I think these odds are way off. Oh, yeah. Jessica Andrade plus 165. Give it to me all day. I'm going to take Frivola. I'm going to take Andrade, and I'm going to fade the aggression and go technique over aggression any day of the week. So the pick is going to be Andrade. The bet's going to be Andrade. And then we have our first title fight of the evening. We have Sergey Pavlovich at -100 going up against Tom Aspinall at -120. Over 1.5 +165, under 1.5 -215. Let's start with Sergey. Short, sweet, to the point. He's a good striker. He's gonna have a 6-inch reach advantage here. He carries a ton of power. I mean, just look at the man. That he hits extremely, extremely hard. His jiu-jitsu's awful, god awful. I saw him on the ground one time. He had no idea what to do. His wrestling, not bad. Okay, his takedown defense is showing a 75% takedown defense. Apparently he had a Greco-Roman wrestling upbringing. And honestly, I saw someone go for a body lock once, and it wasn't terrible. It looked like he knew how to defend a body lock. Can he defend a double? I don't know. We're yet to see it. We saw Curtis Blades shoot a half-assed one while rocked. That's all I've ever seen. I don't count that. Curtis Blades didn't even know where he was. There's no way he knew to just switch to a single or run through Sergey as he was half asleep. He had no idea where he was. So I'm not counting that. I've only seen someone go for a body lock takedown once and see him stuff it. That's all I've seen, to be honest with you. So is his wrestling that good? I don't know. His cardio, it doesn't look good. It looks like he slows down. Will he be able to go 5 rounds? Probably not. But he does have some decision wins on his record. I like that. He has 2. That means he's gone to decision before, and that's a good thing for him, to be honest with you. His volume's really high. He's always moving forward. Like, there's a lot of things to like about him. It's just his cardio and his jiu-jitsu are bad. Can he wrestle? If he can't wrestle, he's in trouble here. On the other side, we have Tom Aspinall, where his cardio's in question too, to be honest with you. We saw him in the second round one time against Andrei Arlovsky, and he looked dog tired. Now, I will give him a little bit of an excuse. He cracked Andre badly round 1. He went for the kill, hit him with like a 25 strike combo, and Andre was still standing. And then Tom was gassed. Was Tom in that bad of shape to where he can't look good in the second round? Or did he blow his entire load going for the finish, and then Andre was still standing there, so he was just extra tired? I don't know. Even tired, he went out there and blast doubled Andre and then got a submission real fast with a rear naked choke and with not even any hooks in. And that's because he's very good on the ground. Everyone talks about all the knockouts Tom Aspinall is getting, how elusive he is, how fast he is. But he's also a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, so he's comfortable anywhere the fight goes. He's a lot better on the ground. Like, I can't tell you how much better on the ground he is than Sergey Pavlovich. My problem with Tom is that he has that really fast, explosive karate style, but on his exit, he gets clipped all the time. Like, I've seen it over and over and over. I saw him in the Alexander Volkov fight. He got clipped. We saw him in the Sergey Spivak fight. He comes in, he hits you with a 3-piece, and then he exits. He comes in, he hits you with the 3-piece, and then he exits. And on his exit, he gets clipped all the time. If he gets clipped by Sergey, he's going out. He needs to stop doing that. He always has his hands extremely low on his exit. For the love of God, Tom, keep your hands up. If Tom gets his fight to the ground, he is world champion. But he's not known to be a wrestler. I've only seen him shoot 1 takedown, and it looked great. It looked phenomenal. So there's a lot of unknowns. Tom knows what he has to do to win, but Sergey knows what he has to do to win, and which one is going to be able to do it, I don't fucking know. They both seem to have bad cardio, but we don't really know. There's a lot of unknown because both these guys go out there and knock out everyone in round 1. Like, literally, all their fights are finishes. So I'm going to pick Tom just because he has more ways to win. He can win on the feet. He can knock out Sergey. And that's the other thing. Sergey does not react well when he gets hit. Curtis Blades hit him, and he didn't like it. I saw Shamil hit him. He didn't like it. Like, there are times Derek Lewis hit him. He didn't like it. Like, I understand no one likes to get hit, but he doesn't react well. And Tom's fast, and I don't want him reacting very awkwardly as Tom's clipping him. So I'm definitely going to pick Tom. He has more ways to win, and he looks better optically. But is it to where Sergey's cardio is better? Because he's won decisions and Tom hasn't. So I don't know. But then it's 5 rounds. I don't think either one of them can make it 5 rounds. It's on short notice. which one stayed in shape? Tom says he's always training and always in shape, but he's also coming off a knee injury where he was talking about retirement. There's too much unknown. Stay away from this fight. If anything, I'm taking the under. But probably not the under 1.5. I don't know, man. This fight's weird. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be exciting. If they did it 10 times, I think it would be 50-50, just like the odds are indicating. So for Saturday, I'm gonna pick Tom. Um, I'm gonna bet Tom. I'll trust it for now. But if he gets clipped on that exit, I swear to God, I'll pick Tom. I'll bet Tom. And then that takes us to the main event of the evening. I know it's been a rough one, but make sure you give this video a like, hit the subscribe. If you haven't already, give a follow over on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, wherever there's social media. There's a Stats and Stacks podcast. We have a fun one for the main event, man. We got Yuri Prochazka at plus 110 going up against Alex Pereira at minus 130. Over under at 1.5, man. Over 1.5 is minus 160. Under 1.5 at plus 125. Let's start with Yuri Prochazka. Yuri's interesting, man. He has good striking. He has sneaky good cardio. His jiu-jitsu is not terrible. I mean, he has a submission win over Glover, so go figure. His wrestling's not great. I've seen him wrestle before. It doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't look good. Talk about low hands with other guys here with like Benoit Saint Denis. Yuri's hands are extremely low. Like the lowest hands I've ever seen. Total disrespect to whoever he's fighting. Very hittable, so that's concerning to have low hands and be hittable. His record's weird because he's beaten guys like King Mo, who are good but no one's heard of. Like he fought overseas for a while, but he was fighting really good guys overseas, or he was fighting UFC vets like CB Dalloway. It is what it is. He came into the US. Honestly, Fabio and CB aren't the greatest ones. And the one he did win over King Mo, Muhammad Lawal, that was when Muhammad was old. So he's fighting good guys at convenient times for him overseas. So he came into the UFC and I expected him to be a fraud. He came in absolutely starched Volkan Ozdemir in round 2. Came in, got clipped a lot by Dom Reyes in round 1, but then Dom faded and Yuri put him out in round 2. And then they gave him a title fight right away. He goes out there and fights old man Glover Teixeira. Very close fight. I actually think he was losing that fight and then came back and got a submission with like 30 seconds left in round 5. So he's had a weird record. He's fought good guys, he's fought bad guys, he's fought some close, he's fought ones that weren't supposed to be close. He's fought some that were supposed to be close and finished. Like he's all across the board. At the end of the day, he's a martial artist. He can also be rocked a ton. Dominic Reyes did rock him. Volkan Ozdemir did rock him. I'm pretty sure Glover rocked him, and we saw him get put out by King Mo, so that's concerning. But outside of that, he's just super hittable, but he's super high volume, super creative. He himself said he doesn't even know what he's going to throw sometimes before he does it. He's just very creative and he's very fun to watch. On the other side, we have another striker. We have Alex Pereira. He's 36 years old. He himself has phenomenal striking, former Glory Kickboxing champion, is inducted into the Glory Kickboxing Hall of Fame. He does tend to slow down in his fights, but continue to fight even slow. He's just a dog as he's slowing. He throws a ton of volume too at times. But his chin's questionable. I don't know if that was because he was sucking so much weight to get down to 185, or if his chin is just all those battles he's been in. He's 36 years old. But I know he hits hard. He hits harder than anyone Yuri has ever fought in his life. So I've seen both these men rocked and put out. I've seen both these men have a ton of power and put other people out easily. They're both predominantly strikers, but Yuri did mention in his fighter interview that he might wrestle. He said, expect me to do something that no one sees coming. The only thing I could think of is wrestling Alex, because Alex doesn't have good wrestling and he doesn't have good jiu-jitsu. Yuri has a clear grappling edge. So is he saying he's going to come out here and wrestle? I don't know. Do I want to trust him to do that, especially coming off a serious injury? This dude has been gone for over a year. He said he might have to retire. That's how bad his shoulder was. If you have a bad shoulder, do I expect you to come back after over a year and wrestle when you're a striker? Like, that doesn't sound good to me. But at the same time, Alex Pereira, is he chinny? Is he coming into this? I thought Yuri was the side, and I was going to bet Yuri. Then I did the fight tape, and now I'm on Pereira, but not by it's by the slimmest of margins. And I was going to bet Yuri by the slimmest of margins. The lines are really close at plus 110, minus 130. Ultimately, I'm going to side with Vegas. I'm going to pick Alex Pereira to win the fight. I think he's the cleaner striker. And I just taught myself I will never bet someone who's not a wrestler to win because of their wrestling. It just doesn't work ever, like ever. And Yuri, if I'm thinking the only way for him to win is by utilizing some wrestling, he's not a wrestler. He's a striker, and I can't trust that. So the pick is going to be Alex Pereira. The bet's going to be Alex Pereira, and I think we're going to have ourselves a new 2 division champion. And that's UFC 295. Again, give this video a like, hit the subscribe, give a follow. We went undefeated on official bets last week. Let's keep the streak going, and let's get paid, baby.